I didn't realize y'all had your version of rednecks. That's really funny.
Yeah. Oh, Aussies
Learned something
definitely
today.
do. Yeah. And we call them bogans. That's so y'all have
Okay.
rednecks, we have bogans. So now you learned some Aussie trivia.
And I have a friend from Australia, and she teaches tennis, and so she's my tennis instructor, but also my friend. And so I'm gonna have to use that word. She's gonna be like, "Where'd you learn that from?"
Yeah, you're gonna be like, I met this bogan the other day.
I was writing that down for real because I'm gonna forget it. I'm writing it down. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
write that down. And while you're writing down, I'll intro the show. And welcome to the Hip Hop Hustle podcast. I'm with the one and the only Tucker Nichol. I was like, do I pronounce it Nickel or Nicole? And I
You
think
got it right.
I got it
You
right.
got it right first try. You know what? A+.
Yeah,
So yeah, it is. It's actually my middle name. My full legal name is Tucker Nichol Wright, but just go by Tucker Nichol for artistry's sake. But yeah, you got it right on the first time. I'm impressed.
I know it's only taken me, what is it, like 140 plus interviews to do, and I get a name right finally on the first go. So good signs. It's like 1% better every day. But for those of you who are not aware, Tucker just released, you've got so much music out. It's been a big kind of 12, 18 months. So you've got the opening single, then you've got the I Swear I'm Fine EP, which also, that's 3 tracks. And then you got the Too Close to Home and the album that dropped last year that was really doing well. And you've got the Nah visuals and everything is just popping off. But how does it feel? It feels like the last 12 to 18 months has really been like a momentum shifter for you.
Yeah, it really has been. I mean, like, I've been doing this for a long time, but I feel like I was just kind of working, like doing a lot of shadow work and just like just writing, recording where I could. And I just like wasn't putting anything out. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna make like a whole plan. I'm gonna start getting this rolling. And I mean, it's been like you said, like bam, bam, bam. Like I went in the studio, and we actually, the Too Close to Home album was written and recorded in 10 days. So it's 10 songs, 10 days. And I mean, that was crazy in itself. I'm really proud of that project and how that turned out. And I got another single coming out next month. So it's going back to the studio next weekend. So it's like.
So by the time this comes out, that'll be out.
Yeah. When will this come out?
It comes out in like 6 weeks or so, I would say, is my guess.
Yeah. So May 12th will be next single for me.
Yeah. So by the time this comes out, it'll be there. So make sure you check out the new single. See, I'm ahead of the game. I know what's going on. Sometimes anyway. But let me ask you, because you said you were doing this for a long time, but you didn't release any music.
Yeah.
That, like, what held you back from just taking the dive and throwing music out there?
You know, like to kind of walk it back. Like I've been singing and all of that for as long as I can remember, probably as long as I can talk. I was always humming something and learned pretty young that I loved to sing. And it wasn't until probably high school that, and I always loved English class in high school. And my grandmother was an English teacher. And she'd be like, "Oh, I always love reading your stories. And you also love to sing. Why don't you put those two loves together and start writing?" And I was always like, "Who, me? Write my own songs? No way. I couldn't possibly do that." Like I just didn't have the confidence that I could actually pull it off, that I could actually do it. And I just listened to my grandma and I started writing songs. And I mean, it became such a form of therapy for me, with writing songs. And the more I did it, the more comfortable and confident I became in it. And also just kind of learning my voice in a different way. Like I always loved singing other people's songs, and it became, okay, well, what does a song sound like when I'm in the driver's seat, like really saying what I want to say and saying what I feel and telling my own stories. Like it just became a really cool way to step into my artistry, because I that was something that was missing before, where I was just always kind of waiting around like, oh, okay, well, I guess like hopefully I'll find somebody with the song, and and sometimes that works for some artists, but like for me, it's just I don't like sitting back and waiting, and I want to tell my story, and I want to hopefully connect with others through my songs and everything. So now it's like an addiction. I just want to write all the time. If I'm not in the studio, I'm in my notes app, like, ooh, that's a bar. Like, let's save that for later and all that. So yeah.
Do you remember the feeling of writing for the first time? Because I tried to write an intro to this podcast, like a rap,
Yeah.
and then I realized that's not my skill set. Like
It's not
I'm a pretty good writer in the sense that I can write and I can express myself, but I just couldn't formulate a rap. And I just realized, I was like, no, this. So I ended up using clips from the show instead, which, to be honest, I think is better. But like, what was the experience of like actually? Because I think people have this misconception of like, you decide to write and then you write, and that's as
yeah.
easy as it is. But do you remember that feeling of like, okay, I'm gonna write a song now, and then
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, so I initially didn't know how to play an instrument. So I kind of was like, okay, I guess I'll just write poetry. And then I started self-taught guitar, a little self-taught piano. And then I went to school and had to learn both of them. So I got a little bit better with those over the years, but um, just had to learn enough to kind of chunk out a few chords so that I could kind of um, build some kind of song structure from there. But I remember thinking it was so odd where I just was overthinking everything because I'm like, oh, well, does it have to rhyme? What kind of rhyme? Do you go for the internal rhyme? Are we going ABA, AABA? Like, you start thinking about English class and um yeah, it felt really strange the first time. And then now like I love co-writing, but sometimes my favorite lyrics tend to come from when I'm just sitting by myself and things that I bring into the studio. Um, First co-write was wild because then you're like collaborating with people and it can be so scary because it's like, do you follow their lead? Do you speak up a little bit more? If there's a line that they throw out that you're like, oh, that's cool, but I don't think I would say that. Like, do you keep it or do you roll with it? So there's a lot of like a lot of give and take going into co-writes, but I love that too. Like that's one of my like I get so amped when I know that I have an LA trip coming that I'm going to go in with like the crew that I always write with, and it's just always fun. Like I've written a ton in Nashville when I first started, and that ended up not being a good fit for me because I'm not a country writer. Um, and that at the time was all that was in Nashville. So I'm sitting here trying to do R&B and pop, but writing with country writers who were amazing. Like I still believe like what Ray Charles always said is that no one can write a song like a country artist because they're telling stories. And so I definitely learned a lot from those country writers that I wrote with, but again, I'm not even remotely country. I think sometimes my little like I'll have like a little twang in some things that I say because I am Southern. I've been in Nashville for 21 years. So sometimes my little accent will come out, but um yeah, it for me going to LA and like being in the mecca of like pop and R&B and everything, that's just really where I started to work very quickly. I found that like I have people that I can go in with and we are writing a full song in an hour or so and writing it and tracking it later that night. That's how I love to work. I love to be quick and efficient.
That's so mind blowing to me that like you can literally make a song in one day. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's more than that. There's like obviously the editing, the engineering, stuff
Yeah.
like that. But like to have the bones of a song in the sense of the lyrics that haven't recorded
Yeah.
in one day. I've spoken to artists who are like, man, it takes me so long to make a song. They have like parts here and parts there, and they're always
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to like jumble it together in a way, but to be able to successfully do it in one day. It must be good to know that, like, if you wanted to, you could just constantly churn out more music.
Yeah, I'm confident in the fact that like I'm going in a couple weeks. I'll be in the studio. We have I think 2 dates with the people that I did the whole Too Close to Home album with, and the last single that came out, Okay. And I mean, we'll be done. We'll have 2 or 3 brand new songs by the time I leave there. Um, like if I spend another 10 days out there, we'll have another album. Like we just it's to me, it's I don't want to just churn out songs just to churn them out, but there's something about when you have that chemistry with a team of people, be it the writers or producers, everything, when you have a good thing going, like you just, just let it keep snowballing and let it just keep rolling because, and again, like writing in Nashville, it was a little harder for me where it would take, okay, well, here we are 6 hours later, we got like a verse. Let's go to lunch now. Okay, well, we're all tired now. Let's schedule another date and revisit it. And to me, like, I personally will lose excitement in a song if I don't hash it out like then and there.
Yeah, I'm a bit like that too. I need the like constant excitement. If we're too focused on one thing for too long, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm mentally checked out. I am really bad
Yeah.
in escape rooms. Because
I still have never done one. I feel like
oh
I would panic. I
no,
would panic.
it's a lot of fun. You need a good group, but like I just create chaos at some point. Like there's a point
Yeah.
where like halfway through and I'm like, they're also detail oriented and I'm good with details, but then I get bored and I'm like, well, if we're stuck on one thing for a long time, I just start wearing the stuff they have in there, like putting on glasses and like the hats of like whatever they've got dressed up, and I just start being annoying and I will bullshit my way to the next clue. Is it like accidentally? So I am a huge distraction. When it starts to take too long, I'm like, guys,
Yeah.
like I'm not in this with you.
Yeah. I just feel like if I'm not excited enough to finish writing a song, for me, am I going to be excited to want to go back and track it? Am I going to be like, is everybody else going to be excited about it? So I need to be like super passionate about what I'm saying and what I'm hearing and everything. And again, if I'm not excited about it, I feel like I'll be like, all right, let's just write a new song that comes out easier, that flows easier to where, I don't know. My favorite songs have all been the ones that have been day jobs. I call it a job, but it's not. It's very it's very fun. I mean, like the excitement knowing, okay, I'm going in this morning, here's an idea, and then boom, it becomes a fully formed song by the end of the day is just like the best form of chaos and fun that there could be. So I love it.
Well, I don't begrudge you for calling it a job at all. So like you're working hard. Like that's what it
Yeah.
is. Like, yeah, it's not like it's just, mindless kind of, you're just there. Like it's very purposeful. And
Yeah.
it's more than just, that one day. It's everything else that you have to do between the
Oh,
visuals, between the marketing, between the promos. Like now artists, and I was speaking to a different, and he was like, we're content creators. That's what we are now. And it's like,
and
that's true.
I never thought I was going to be a content creator. Like that was just never the lane I wanted to be in. And now I have to wrap my head around the fact that if you're an artist and you're wanting to pursue it and you're still like on the grind, like on the way up, like you can't get around it. You gotta be in it. You don't necessarily have to be like doing the whole influencer thing where you're on there all day long and everything. But I mean, I used to think about, you'd see on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and everybody's ragging on their favorite artists, like, we need music, we need it now. Where's it at? Where's the music? Cute photo, but where's the music? Cute, like, you know what I mean? But okay, so what's frustrating for me is I can write a song in a day and record it in that same day and finish it. And it might be another 6 months to a year before it can come out because of like the whole schedule and everything that I have to think of to put behind it. Like there's the visuals, not just the artwork, but then the video, do you want to do a lyric video? Who's going to distribute? I mean, there's so much that goes into it that it's a lot. It's like a full working factory. Um, but it's fun. Like if you can keep positive, then it can be fun. But it's hard as artists, like, to not get in your head and be discouraged, especially in the way that the game keeps changing. It's about to change again with TikTok probably about to die. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because it's funny where you're like, it's fun. And it's like, are you convincing me or are you convincing yourself? Like, obviously there are parts that are not fun, but yeah, the TikTok, what's happening I'm like, obviously I'm here in Australia. So I'm like looking and going, hey, if the US is about to ban TikTok, I think it might be an Australia thing too at some point, because we tend to follow your lead. We're like a mini version of the US is what I'm realizing. But yeah, I don't know, what's the feeling in general? Like, obviously you make content, you get views on TikTok. It's one of those things, but like,
I don't know. Like for me, I don't feel like it's gonna hurt that bad because I'm like a reluctant person on TikTok anyway. My preferred platform is Instagram. Um, but I mean, that's gonna be a hard hit. But the thing is too, like, it might be a good wake up call for the music industry in general because they become so reliant on finding the next viral artist or viral song and not doing the work to put behind these viral acts. You know, like they're not, I don't want to get in trouble for saying all that, but um I mean, they're in 2023, that's the year we're in. In 2023, you're expected to be your own label, even if you're signed to a label. Like there's all this work that they want you to do, and that's fine, but there's only so far that an independent artist can really reach. But I mean, I feel like if you're too reliant upon TikTok, then it almost becomes, well, what are you neglecting in your artistry if you're so focused on TikTok and daily content creation? Because I'd rather be spending my days in the studio and spending my money on studio time and producer fees and getting my next album mixed and mastered and everything. Like that's where I want to spend my creative energy, you know? But yeah, social media is an unavoidable monster that we've got to just, I don't know. You got to find what works for you so that you don't become a slave to social media, you know?
Isn't it weird though? We all kind of hate social media. Like everyone I
Yeah,
talk to is kind of like,
everyone hates it.
it kind of sucks, but we've created this, and I don't even think us, but it's like consumers. We've created this
Yeah.
beast of like, and obviously big companies have realized that
Oh
you
yeah.
feed into people's adrenaline and like what's that positive hormone anyway
Oh, endorphins.
endorphins. If they feed that endorphin kick, that we will be more addicted and we'll be scrolling. And it's like everyone knows that at the end of the day we've been spending too much time on the phone, but for whatever we
Man,
cannot get off them, and we're like, oh my
tell
god,
you
what's going
what,
on with TikTok? But it's good.
like, you know, at the end of the week on your iPhone or whatever, that you get that alert. It's like your screen time has gone up 12% from last week. You spend an average of 9 hours and 27 minutes. And you're like, oh no, I spent how much time on my phone? And for what? Like, I want to go outside and like do real things and not be like this all day. But I mean, I just try to keep my head down and stay on task, you know?
Yeah. But I like it's because social media is great for artists as well. That's the other thing. I'm like the
Yeah.
double-edged coin, because independents now have a voice and you can build a fan base off
Yeah.
virtually not much money. Like you
Yeah.
can record, obviously you can get like a cheap mic, you can, you know,
Yeah.
you can do it really cheap. And if people like it, they like it. So you can do those things. It's just the other side, the like virality of everyone means
Yeah.
that you're super replaceable. So it's like your vibe
Eh,
today, and then people like, that's awesome, until they just get bored, and then it's the next viral sensation.
yeah.
And
On
your
next.
yeah, and if your artistry doesn't last because you haven't put enough work into it, then you will be hot and then not.
Yeah. And that's my thing too, is like, I think artists, and I'm speaking to myself on this as well, need to be careful about always trying to follow what the current trend is to an extent, because like you think about, okay, this snippet is trending right now, so I need to make a video that correlates to my music that I'm putting out so that I can be a part of this, like this wave that's on right now. But my question is, okay, who's creating the trend? You know what I mean? Like, who is the person? Like, why are we so like we're so comfortable with being told to do what's popular, and it goes against the whole grain of how I have spent my whole life, which was always like my grandparents would be like, be a leader, not a follower. And now we're quite literally called followers. So it goes against the grain where you're like, oh my gosh, like, what's original? Is anything original? If I just want to do my own thing and it goes viral, then bet that's cool. But like, if I just hop on somebody else's viral moment, then what does that do for me? Because A, it's not authentic to me. B, I learned nothing from it. You know what I mean? Like I would rather, instead of being so obsessed over what are all these artists who might be similar to me, like what are they doing? I don't care. Like I'm happy for them. I'm happy for everybody else's success. Like, and I've gotten to the point where I understand that like somebody else's success has nothing to do with my own potential of success. Where I'm not checking for anybody else. Like, oh, what is she doing today? What is she posting? Or what is he posting? What are they doing? Oh, I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. Like, no, I'm going to do what's natural and comfortable for me. And like I said, I'm going to keep my head down. I'm going to stay in my lane and just do what's true to me. Cause I've tried to like look into, okay, what's trending? What's trending? And I'm like, I'm not about to be on here doing TikTok dances. It's just not my thing. Like, and that's okay. For those that it is their thing, I love it. I love watching the videos, but you're not about to watch one of me because it's just not who I am. But yeah, like social media, you have to learn how to make it work for you rather than you working for it, because it doesn't work that way. Like you have to find a way to kind of trick the system, and then that's when the system starts working for you. It's
Well,
kind of how.
it's the algorithm. That's like our new
Yeah,
version of God. We're all like, what's the algorithm? Like
yeah.
I see
What
so
is it?
many, yeah, everyone's like the new algorithm, the updates, and everyone's like, oh my God.
What's wild though, it changes day to day. So if you, and it becomes such a big distraction from the art that you could be doing, and where like random things for me have had more views, and those are the ones that I haven't even thought out, that I wasn't like, oh, I need to plan this, I need to do a video like this. Like the ones that have done better were ones where I was just like, man, whatever, this is funny or this is whatever. But yeah, social media, man, I
Maybe
don't know.
that's what it is. Maybe it's because you don't care. And maybe that's what makes it authentic, and that's what we're drawn to. I think ultimately what we end up talking about all the time is like authenticity.
Yeah,
And that is every artist's greatest kind of thing, or every person's greatest strength, is that they are irreplicable, in the sense
yeah,
that only you can sing the way you sing, and the best version of an impression of you is not going to still be the same. And so
yeah,
that's ultimately what I keep finding is like, if you keep being authentic in the sense that this is who I am, this is the art that I create, that fans
yeah,
will ultimately come to you because you have people that align with your story or what you're saying or your sound,
Yeah.
whatever it be.
That's what I've been, I was talking to some people on my team, and we've talked about the social media aspect of things. And I'm like, I'm somebody, I believe I'm a coachable person, and I love constructive criticism. I love it. Like I never want to get to a place where I feel like I can't learn something new, because that's an issue. You should always be learning until the day you leave this earth. Like there's always something new to be learned, and there's always something to feed your spirit and um, to grow and improve. But with the social aspect of it, where I'm like, okay, you got to treat your pages as though it's like your diary, and what you're putting out. And I know the majority of it is always like, okay, this is the best version of me today, or this is what I want people to see. But what you put out and how often you're putting stuff out and everything, it kind of sets the standard for what people are going to expect from you. So if you're content creating, like, I'm going to do 3 posts a day, and I'm always on my stories, and I'm always going live, like, you're going to build a fan base who expects that from you. And that's fine, but you also have to be able to sustain that. And if it's not something that's sustainable, then it's not something that you should put in motion. You don't want to lay that concrete for it to seal. And then you're like, oh no, the people, they're upset with me because I'm not doing what I promised I would continue to give them for them to consume, consume, consume. And so, like, I believe that everybody needs to learn how to have boundaries with social media. And because that stuff impacts your mental health like crazy. So I kind of have to, like, take steps back when I can. Because again, it messes with the actual creative things that I want to be doing. And that's writing songs. And then of course, spending time with my family who wants to be able to hang out with me without me being like, sorry, kids, mama's got to content create. You know what I mean?
And also, I've got to respond to all the DMs, like, have to respond and to the comments. And like, yeah, and
Yeah.
just like, oh, did you
I
hear
got
it?
one the other day. I got a random DM asking if I needed a sugar daddy. It's like, would you be my sugar baby? And I was like, whoa, people still send me.
Well, you can, if anyone wants to send me free cash, please.
But like, I'm so confused I mean, obviously it was a no. It was just like wow, we're going to move on from that. But in all caps at the bottom of the message was like, no meetups, with like the heart emoji, like that was going to be the those. I'm like, what exactly do you get out of this then? Like, what are you getting?
Look, if anyone wants to send me money and never see me or talk to me, please feel free to DM me. I am all up for that. You do you.
My friend was like, hey, did they take referrals? Could just pass it along. It's like, I don't know about this. I feel like it was probably one of those like spam group. I hope so, because I hope I wasn't singled out for that, because that was a little weird, but wild.
Look, as special as you are, if they send one, they send 100. That's the thing about, like, and
so
yeah.
I'm like, man, you got it like that, or you just like what if they all say yes? What if all 100 people are like, yeah, cool, daddy? Like, let's.
Did you check out the profile out of interest? Like, did you? Because my
No.
natural curiosity would be like, all right, let's see if this guy actually is loaded. Because I feel like half the time,
A lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but they'll remain unanswered. It's fine. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, something I did want to ask you is like, because I feel like every single interview you've ever done in your career, they always bring up, Miss Tennessee, the pageants.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not asking you about, how does it feel to be asked about that all the time? Like, because you must look back and like, I've heard you say that it was fun and it was amazing, but like, you've evolved so much.
Yeah.
Since that point.
I mean, it's I'm very proud of my time as Miss Tennessee USA. Somebody actually tagged me in something last night, of a video from the swimsuit competition from the top 15 thing. And so that was fun to see. It's always cool to like stroll down memory lane and everything. Um, and I mean, I learned so much. And I mean, once you can stand up on stage on NBC with millions of people watching and you're up there in your swimsuit, like not a lot will kind of scare you about being on stage anymore. So, I mean, that it definitely helped me come out of my shell. I made a lot of great friends and even business contacts and everything through there. What I always tell women who compete in pageants, usually Miss USA system, I don't know as much about the America system, but like I mean, you hustle through your year. You only have a year to do this, and you can never compete at Miss USA again after that. Like you get one
Sure.
shot and you are done. Like you can't, it's not like the NBA finals where you're like, oh, our team didn't win this year. We got to work hard next year and come back and compete. You're one and done. Like, so essentially for me, my win at Miss Tennessee USA meant that this was my singular shot to win Miss USA and my singular shot to win Miss Universe. So you like work really hard to try to get to the point where that becomes a reality. And for me, it wasn't, but it was a huge lesson for me where I learned then to not compare myself to other people because the comparison trap is so dangerous. And like, of course, you can look at a pageant and think, oh, the whole thing is about comparing. It's like, is it or is it not? Like at the same time, it's a job that one woman gets to have for the rest of the year. But you think about it this way: a different set of a different set of judges on a completely different night could have a completely different outcome. Like if it just is all about, is it in your story? Is it in your plan? Are the stars aligning for you that day or are they not? And you have to learn to be okay um with hearing no. And my no was I didn't win Miss USA. And I had to learn how to be okay with that and not let it shatter me entirely. And it's like with music, I can keep going. I can keep dropping a song every 6 weeks and hope something eventually takes off. I mean, that's obviously a very expensive route to take, but like the door is not closed for me. So I think going through something where the door was permanently like slammed in your face where you know that this will never happen, like it's a moment that you can either be bitter and discouraged forever, or you can say, you know what, I'm happy for the person who won. And I'm happy for the placement that I had that year. I was top 10, and that's a huge accomplishment. And I weirdly ended up meeting producers for music through that entire experience. So if I can think of the um the positives rather than like, I didn't freaking win, like this, like I could be like saying MF this and MF them, but like that doesn't do anything to help me grow. So, I mean, honestly, what's funny about Miss USA is I'm always careful how I tell the story because I had a hair sponsor for Miss Tennessee and I had hair extensions and they just did not work for my hair. They weren't good. And this is all relevant to music, weirdly enough. Um,
Honestly, even if it wasn't, I would be like, tell the story.
so it's it's wild. So I'm biracial and I have very naturally, this is very poorly straightened my hair out, but a very naturally curly hair. And we were in Vegas where it was super humid and hot in the beginning of May. And I had these extensions in my hair that were glued in. And so when you're in the humid heat and you have curly hair, it all essentially fused together in like one dreadlock. So that was real fun. They had the head sponsor of the Chi hair company, came to my room to individually remove every single one, and it was one of the most painful things I've had to ever do, which is real strange. But I
Why
was
was
like
it, why
chilling.
was it so painful?
I don't know, like my head was so tender after that, and I've never been tender headed like with years of getting like braids or anything, but like that was awful. But they took them all out, and they spent years. They spent hours and hours for like 2 days trying to get them out so that I would be ready to go back and compete. So I met somebody who was best friend of one of the liaisons to Miss Universe and Miss USA. And during this time, they're like, "Man, I can't believe you're so chill about this. Any other girl that was here would have been like crying and probably angry." And I was just like, "Man, whatever. Like, I'm here." And I'm just laughing because I'm like, "This sucks, but what am I going to do? Like, I could be yelling and throwing a fit, but it's not going to help anything. Like, the damage is done." So they take them out. I get like clip in extensions, whatever. But this friend, I end up becoming really good friends with this guy. And he was like talking about, what do you do other than this? Like, I sing and write songs. And, I was going to Belmont University in Nashville at the time and majored in music, studied commercial music, voice performing. And yeah, he was like, "Next time you're in New York, let me know. That's where I live. And, I'll come see you play." I was like, "Okay, cool." So a girlfriend of mine, we went and did like a mini tour in New York. We played like 3 or 4 shows out there, and it was so much fun. And my friend came to the shows, and he was like, "Man, next time you're in LA, I want you to meet my friend who is an up and coming producer. He's got this producer group, and they're really up and coming. I think that y'all would hit it off." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I was out in LA, and he set it up, and it was with Ray Romulus, who is one of the Stereotypes. So I meet him and the guys, and like I've been cool with them ever since. Like, and that was 2010, I think is
Uh,
when. So had I not had really, really poorly done hair extensions, and had I not had a good attitude about getting all of them removed, then I wouldn't have been led to end up meeting people who I've done 12 songs with now. And so that's who I did the I Swear I'm Fine EP and the Can You Keep a Secret EP. So that's, I think, of the 12 that we did, I released 9 of them. So yeah, that's how I came to meet the Stereotypes. Was
just
bad hair.
shows how important the attitude is. So I have so many comments. The first is, "I didn't realize one shot and you're done. That is wild." I always thought that it was like
Yeah,
where it's like, all right, not this year. I go back and I do it again, but one shot is ridiculous.
only for like the state pageants, you can keep going and going and going until you hit the age limit. But once you win the state, now I could have gone and competed at Tennessee America, but by then I was like, I'm done with pageants. Like when you win one big one, a lot of times they're like, "Come do more." And for me, like, I wanted a girl who really was passionate about having that job as Miss Tennessee America. Like, give it to them. Like, I'm ready to move on. At that point, I'm like, I just want to be doing music. That's where my heart is. And that job in particular is a full-time job. Like, you work for the state, essentially. You're working under the governor, and it's a great position to have, but it derails you from what your career ambition is briefly. And the one that I always wanted to do was Miss USA. So I did it. It was done. It was time for me to move on. And actually the girl that won Miss USA my year was from Michigan. Her name's Rima Faki, and she's married to the Weekends manager.
Really?
So yeah, and so she's so cool. But that was funny. It's cool to see where everybody from our year has like branched off to now. But most of us all keep in touch. We had a really nice group of women, so I still keep in touch with almost all of them. But Yeah.
Well, I low key think that, and this is my pitch to the Miss Universe competition, right? They should
Yeah.
have a stress test in the sense of like,
Man.
in the sense of like, we want to see what you're like when shit goes wrong, not when everything's great, because
Man.
they should have that as part of the competition to be like, let's see who has the great attitude all the time. And I think it's really hard to fake
Man.
shit is going wrong.
That's facts though. Cause I'm like, if you'd put everybody through that same situation, or like send somebody in and sabotage everyone's gown and see who like is cool with it or who can bounce back from it.
Yeah.
Uh,
How you would
yeah.
get so many more viewers because you would genuinely
They,
see meltdowns. And
they'd have to put it back on like major network. They need, honestly, that's an idea right there. That'd
Miss
be really fun.
Universe, come
Here we
and hit
go.
me up for my ideas. I'm an ideas man. What can I say? I'm copywriting that. Everyone saw this here first.
There it is.
So if Miss Universe end up doing it, I'm going to be making some calls going, hey, I know where you got it from.
Yep. Wild.
So tell me about, because you mentioned you went to university to study, was it commercial music or like?
Yeah, commercial music. So it's broken down between either you could do classical music or commercial music, and everything under commercial under that umbrella is like pop, R&B, country, rap, bluegrass, anything that's not classical falls under that. But it's an extensive program there for sure.
Do they teach you the commercial side of music?
Mm, they try. We also take some like music business classes and everything, and I wish I'd taken more of those. And it's funny though, because you would see a difference between the morale of the kids who are in the music business industry or music business program or in the school of music program. Because the school of music, we're all like, la di da di da, we're gonna make it one day, all of us, every single one, we're all going to the Grammys and it's gonna be great. And like, and it essentially there, it was like, don't listen to the music industry, they know nothing. And the music business is like, we could find somebody on the street tomorrow who doesn't really sing, but we can sure auto tune it and we can put them with the best writers and best producers and we can blow it up tomorrow. They're a little more correct than we were over in the school of music, I feel. I mean, not that that's always how it is. Obviously, you have to work hard in every aspect, but I think that more attention could have been paid to how to play the game, you know?
Yeah, I always find it interesting though that like it's so separated. I think because when I first heard and when you said like commercial music, I was like, oh, maybe I've been wrong. Maybe they have been teaching all these artists like the business of music while teaching them like musical theory and how to become the best artist. Obviously, there's a part of that, but
Yeah.
it's weird to me that they don't do that because you need to know the reality of it. But I feel like that's just maybe like
Yeah.
in general is they don't really teach you about the real world. They kind of allude to it.
Yeah, it wasn't yeah, when I kind of got out into the real world of the music industry, I realized how unprepared I was from school about that aspect of it. Now, there's things that the school of music did teach me that was great, like being able to write a Nashville number chart for my band so that, well, I don't do them great, but at least knowing classmates from there, you can be like, hey, here's my song. Can you chart this for me? Like I met so many people there that like I still keep in touch with and are my very best friends. And yeah, I mean, the one thing that they helped us with too is you don't want to just be the chick singer. Like you want to know how to communicate with your band and you want to know how to go into a writing session and like say what needs to be said and not just turn it into what they call in Nashville like a co-wipe, where you just sit there in the room and you get your percentage, but you didn't really contribute. So you never want to be that guy. But
it's like, yeah, it's like at uni when you had the group assignments and
Yeah.
there's always a few who are just like do the worst job possible. And
Yeah.
you're always like, hey, why did I had to rewrite this. And
Yeah.
to be fair, I was both at uni. I was both the person who rewrote it, and there were times where I was so bad. Like I did a subject called evidence law. It's a 5th-year law subject, and I, for whatever
Okay.
reason, did it in year 1. And so me and my friend, and it's not because I'm smart, it's because I'm an idiot. And I accidentally was like, hey, evidence sounds cool. Let's do evidence. Like it's with criminal. And then we get into this lecture, and I will never forget the lecture in the tute. And I have no idea what the hell is going on because they assume 4 years of study prior to doing this subject. And
Oh
so
no.
my friend was like, Aaron, if we fail, I'm going to burn your house down because I swear to God, you just, and I was just like, just trust me. Just, and so there was a lecture and we wonder, and they were like assigning people to do a group project. And we just happened
Yeah.
to be sitting around like 3 or 4 mature age students. And so we
Yeah.
got put in their group. And so we had this assignment. I remember how much I wrote. And out of everything I wrote from my part, they kept one sentence of everything I wrote. And we got like 43.5 out of 50. Like it was amazing. It got me through, no hurdle exam. Like I was so lucky. And I said to my friend, I'm like, still one of the best subjects we did because we got amazing marks, but we were so lucky. So lucky to be counted.
Man. Man. Yeah, that's wild. That's great. Just rode the wings all the way through.
Yeah,
clip
in
it.
that one for sure. And then I was like, hey, if we can get through this one, we can get through the others.
Man, that's funny.
Do you see people in like when you're writing, do you see the people who are not as actively contributing or just like they don't feel as comfortable with the project for whatever reason?
I mean, not in the rooms that I'm in, and I try to surround myself with people that I have great creative chemistry with. Um, so I've not had that experience in quite a few years. I used to, and I always try to be careful when discussing that too, because I feel like it's not necessarily like, oh, they're not a good writer or they don't contribute. It's just we may not gel together to where you don't ignite each other's creativity, you know. um like I love the people that I work with, and so that's why I don't even try to switch it up often unless it's really unless it makes sense for me. But I just, when I go in with my same teams because it just always works out well
And you
personally.
trust them obviously as well.
Yeah. I mean, you have to trust the people that you're writing with anyway, especially if you're being personal and everything. Like you want to be able to be vulnerable enough to speak to these people about what you're dealing with or whatever. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough about like Mary White's is one. And then the producers Cut and Dry, that's who the 3 of them. The Cut and Dry is 2 guys, and then Mary, who I co-wrote everything, that's like the whole Too Close to Home album was with them. And then everything I did with the Stereotypes was co-written with my friend Blush, who is just stupid talented. Like her voice is insane, and I just love working with her. So we've written a few last couple months that I'm hoping to put out by the end of the year too. So yeah, if I'm gonna be in LA, I'm like, Blush, what's up? What dates you got open? Or like, Mary, hello. So yeah, I keep rolling with what I know works, and it helps me be a lot more efficient with my time. And I'm somebody, I don't like wasting time, and I don't like wasting other people's time. So I go with what I know is working.
Well, as we said, it is obviously working and you're obviously seeing some great success. And I've always wondered, like, you're really seeing the momentum shift. You're really seeing the ball continue to roll and the momentum build. How is it kind of seeing that all take off and maintaining like healthy relationships and maintaining the rest of life around it? Because obviously it's now like you're seeing the fire and you're like, you want to continue embracing it and making it bigger and bigger while obviously you have that momentum.
Yeah, I have to be careful with myself because where I have such grand dreams and places that I want to go and where I want to see my music, um, the doors that I want to see it go through, that I have to be better about celebrating what I see as small victories. I have to remind myself that what I think is a small victory, like me 5 years ago, would have been like, oh my God, this is everything, you know? So I'm trying to be better about being proud of myself and the work that I'm putting in, and also not falling victim to imposter syndrome, to where when good things start happening that I'm not like, oh, I don't deserve this, or why me? Like, oh, okay, cool. But what's the catch? Like I'm always kind of not to take it into downer mode, but I feel like the competitor in me and the perfectionist in me is always like, okay, cool, that did well. Well, what can I do better? What can I fix? How do I repivot this to do better next time? Like I look down the list of things of a release cycle and I think, wow, I dropped the ball here. I should have done that instead. And this is where I could have done better. And so obviously that's part of that is good to keep the steam going ahead, but it's part of that is also unhealthy to the point where you need to be able to be proud of yourself and be happy with momentum and feel that you're deserving of it. And um yeah, just not beating yourself up too bad, which I'm really good at. So
I think all creatives are good at that. That's in a
yeah.
way why we're creative, is because like
Yeah.
it's something that we're like grappling with or dealing with, and that is
Yeah.
art. Like every artist that I've spoken to is always like, "Ah, got more to do. I'm not
Yeah.
happy with where I'm at."
It's like, oh, you thought that's cool? I didn't. I see that and I think of all the things that I missed, or I see all the things I should have done and could have done. And if you're able to like, I'm trying to be better at taking a step back and looking at it as though it's not personal to me, like but that's a problem too, because I also am able to look at myself as a business, and then I start neglecting the emotional aspect of myself where I'm like, well, Tucker the artist needs to do this. Tucker the person can get over it because Tucker the artist needs to blah 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 blah. Um, so it's finding that healthy medium between being a a creative perfectionist while showing yourself grace. Um, because if you're too hard on yourself, you're going to end up stunting your creativity.
Yeah. I think we all have to accept that we will never be perfect, in the sense of like perfection is this elusive kind of dream. And like
Yeah.
if we ever got to perfection, it would be the worst thing that ever happened. Cause it's like,
So boring.
well, what do I do from here?
Go from Yeah, you don't go anywhere from there. So that's what now I'm like more excited, because like sometimes I'll listen to songs that I put out and I'm like, man, I really should have added more BGVs there. I should have added this. And I had heard a quote. I can't recall. I'm sorry, I can't recall who said it, but they were talking about how art is never completed. It's just when the artist decided to step away and share it with everyone else. And thinking about it that way, where I'm like, okay, so this is just like the songs that I put out to date are like, that's just a chapter of what this song was on that day. There's always room if you want to like, all right, we'll remix this later. Or when you perform it live, you can add all the things that you thought you desperately needed. But art is meant to be shared. And if you just overthink it to the point, sorry, I'm so joking. It's
How
not
dare
COVID.
you cough on my show? How
It's not like, remember a couple of years ago, we were all scared to cough, and that was just like
Oh,
suppressed.
yeah. I had this conversation with my brother literally on Saturday, and he was like, "Hey, Aaron, do you not trust people who are wearing masks?" And I'm like, "Actually, you're right. I don't. I'm like, what do you
Like
have
nowadays, I get a little
like
worried.
now? Yeah, now I'm like, what do you have that I should be worried about? Like now I'm concerned about what you've got."
Back, and I'm like I did all the what I was supposed to do at the time, and whatever. But nowadays, if it's just what is it, springtime 2023, what's wrong with you? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Like
what are you got
you
something to
felt
hide?
my concern. Like I feel like I need to be like 6 feet away because you got, like you said, you're trying to hide something. Oh no, it's wild. What a time we lived through. What a time.
But you were saying about that art is a chapter that
Yeah,
is never complete.
yeah. I mean, I feel that I could always go back into like every single song that I've done. Like, oh, I could have added this, or I could have moved this section there, or I could have changed lyrics here. We could have, done this, but now I just try to apply it to the next project, like what can I improve? What can I take and make better? But what I found funny too is once I've released the music, sometimes I'm scared to like listen to it for a while. And I'm like, even though I've listened to it on the box app for like the last whatever months, and I've listened to the song a million times, probably on average like 1,000-ish times before I've put the song out for everybody else to consume as well. And then I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm scared to listen to it. And then a few weeks will go by and I play it and I'm like, oh man, that actually was good. Like, I'm glad I put that out. I'm glad I bet on myself. But it's that time away, like separating myself from the like being too logical about the creative side, that I allow myself to enjoy the creativity again, and I can like I can be grateful for what that art meant to me at that time and who I was as a person whenever that music was released. And with every song, like I feel like because songwriting is such a therapy for me, and because like singing in itself is another form of therapy, it's like mega therapy together when you write your own song and you sing it. Um, Part of the healing process for me is the writing of it, and then the singing it through, and then the releasing of those emotions out into the world. And I feel myself heal more and more every time I do put out a new song, because then it's not just my feelings or my story, it becomes ours. It becomes something that I'm hearing from other people, like, oh my gosh, like you said what I was feeling in this moment. And those, hearing other people connect to it is such a special thing, that like you always know that that's a possibility, but when it actually happens, it becomes like a really cool full circle moment, so to speak, that it just makes it more real and more fulfilling whenever that happens.
Well, I think that's a great message to any artist to just go for it and put it out, and you never know. Like that's
Yeah,
the weird thing. Like you really never know what it is that will spark with others. And
yeah,
it's like what I know what back to school is like, when someone has a question, probably the other kids have the same question. So if you
yeah,
have an emotion or you're feeling something, the odds are that you're not the only one who's going through maybe not the
yeah,
exact same thing, but going through a similar challenge and
similar, yeah,
align to those things. So, I mean, I agree with you. I think if you're going to work on stuff, you should put it out there, just even if just for yourself. Like you
yeah,
don't have to promo it, but putting it out and seeing what happens is kind of part of the fun. I always say that if no one listened to this podcast, I'd still put it out and I'd still do it.
yeah,
I might struggle to get guests, but that is a completely different topic. But yeah, I think being able to release, and I spoke to John Connor, who was signed to Dr. Dre, and he said one of the best things is like, once I release it, it's no longer mine. It's the audience's. So I give it to them, and whatever is their favorite song is my favorite song, because it's no longer it was mine when I was working on it, and as soon as I release it, I give it to them, and they can have it. And that's how I let go of the process of being judgmental post, because I can't listen to my podcast once I release it. Like, my friends sometimes put it on to annoy me, and I'm just like, guys, I had this conversation like 6 to 8 weeks ago. I released it. I edited it. I've listened to it enough. I already know, and I can nitpick all the mistakes already that I'm trying to fix. And because it's like 2 months ago, I can hear them still. I'm like, no, I'm trying to work on those things.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I've gotten to the point where, like, even with my friends and everything, I'm always interested to hear what their favorite songs are, because a lot of times it's not the same favorite song that I have, and it's just always interesting to hear. But like, I mean, I love what he said though, because I very much feel I can echo that. Like, it's not mine anymore. Like, it is something that's out there that y'all do what you want with it, and you interpret it the way you want, that relates to you. Like, it doesn't matter who I wrote the material about. Like, it matters, but I'm more interested in how it makes somebody feel where they are, and how it helps them, because not everybody can put those words together, and there's so many things that I've felt that I still haven't been able to put into song, that other writers and artists have done so perfectly, that you put on that song and you're like, man, I feel healed, at least for this 3 minutes, that I feel better because I feel connected and I feel heard. Like, there's so many, like, life is all about connecting, and life is all about just shared connections and everything. And when you feel alone, that's when it gets really, really dark. And having music as a way to feel a little less alone is just such a special thing. And I mean, music has helped me in my moments when I've felt most sad and alone and everything. And so getting to play a small part in that now is pretty cool.
Isn't it funny though? You look at other artists who touch on a topic you don't feel you do well enough, but you will be that artist for other artists.
That's weird, but really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that the artists who touch on the topics that you're like, oh my God, you did that so well, they probably have the same feeling that you have, which is like, oh, I didn't do that well. I could have done this better.
That's crazy. That's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, I just think it shows. And like, one of my New Year's resolutions was to write every day, just to like have a thought of the day and just write about it. And so I've been writing literally every day. And one of my recent thoughts was about like music and like dancing. And I was just like, do you ever feel worse after dancing? Like, you never do. It's something like, I've never had like a boogie, like listen to a song and I'm like feeling it and I'm grooving and I've never felt worse. And there's something about music, and there's something about like moving to music and just like embracing it that is so healing, that it really does take you out of this place of sadness. And even if it takes you to a different place of sadness, there's something about it that really
feels healing.
Yeah.
And it really is, because like, one of the biggest frustrations is when you feel that you're saying something to the point that you're blue in the face, and you feel that you've communicated it and you feel like you've said all you needed to say, but no one's hearing you. When you feel heard, you feel validated, and that's where you can feel like it's a safe place to heal, if that makes sense. So that's why, like, certain songs that I connect with and everything that have been just, it's where I'm like, man, they get it. they get me. They don't know me. They don't know anything about me, but they sure like they have felt the same way or similar to how I've felt. And that makes me feel just a little less alone, at least like at 3 minutes and 24 seconds, whatever it is, you know. But it's a great feeling.
I think that's why fans can get obsessive, is because it's like,
Yeah.
I hadn't felt seen, and then I feel seen by you, and you don't know me, but like I feel like we have this intimate relationship now because you've been talking to me and I've been listening, and you haven't known, but I know that we're like the same, and so we could become best friends. And I can,
But like know from you.
yeah, but it's like I can follow the strange thought of like that, of being like, oh, I reckon we'd get along great. Like I reckon based on, and so like it's weird for fans to sometimes step out and be like, you know, that song is not them. That's the other thing, the fan that you have to like grapple with, is that, like, as you said, you're Tucker Nichol, the artist, but you're also Tucker, the person who has the rest of life that you deal with. You have like times where that is not even in your mind, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I have to eat today. Like, what am I eating? Or I wake up and I don't feel great. Just like I feel fluky and I feel bloated, or whatever it might be. No, you're not like, damn, Tucker Nichol feels that way. You're just like, I feel that way. It's like this weird separation.
Yeah.
So I think fans can sometimes forget about that. I forget about that, where I'm like, when I look at, you know, actors, actresses and what they do, and I'm like, oh, they're just these superstars. They just do the same thing we do. They just have a really cool and interesting life.
Yeah. Celebrities, they're just like us.
Yeah, I think that's why all the newspaper outlets and all the magazines are like,
look at them pumping gas.
yeah. Oh, can you believe that?
They go
Also, yeah.
Can you believe they bought bread? They eat bread. You're like, what? Yeah, they buy the same things we do.
Yeah, look at them rocking tracksuit pants, like sweatpants, and you're like, I have those too.
I have those. I don't have those, but I want them now. It's funny.
Well, I actually only have one more question for you.
All right, have it.
The hardest question that I ask on the show. It's the only question that I plan. That's why it's probably the hardest one. But if you had to recommend one album that everybody should listen to at least once to get an appreciation of any genre, and it's not the best album, but something that you think everybody should appreciate and kind of understand, what would it be?
Man, that you have to listen to more than once to get a full appreciation?
Oh, no, just once. Just in general. Like everybody should listen to it at least once.
Kanye's Yeezus album. I love Kanye. I love Yeezus.
You know, out of all the albums, that's not what I expected for you to say. I don't know why. I saw that I thought you might go the Michael Jackson, the Janet Jackson route.
Oh, do you still have me here?
Yeah, I think.
Gone. Can you hear me?
For a second. Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, there we go. I think it's back on track. No, I mean, I love Michael Jackson. I'm huge. I've got a ton of records in here. I mean, man, Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder. No, but I'm thinking. Oh no, I'm gonna change my answer. I'm gonna say Purple Rain album. That's still, to me, is my top 3 favorite soundtrack of all time. I love Prince. Really, anything Prince, Kanye, and Drake are like my favorite things ever. Yeah.
Well, all great answers. And I know, and I'm just going to throw this in there because I know you said it on different interviews, but you obviously want to work with Drake. So Drake,
I love
listen to this. First come on my show and then work with Tucker Nichol, because
perfect.
Yeah. Actually, to be fair, I actually don't care the order. But if you listen to this, please come on the show. That's my like. I'd love to interview Drake. But look at this turning into a Drake.
What's up, Sam? We'd be best friends. I can tell. be one of the bands. I can tell through the music that we would just be best friends, Drake. I can tell.
Yeah, I listen to Hotline Bling, and like I can tell you get me. So best buds. We can hang out.
Hashtag best friends. It's fine.
Well,
Like, really
thank
fine.
you, Tucker Nichol, for coming on the show. I always appreciate it. As I said off camera, I never know what we're going to talk about, and we didn't let down today. But obviously, the OK single came out. The Nah visuals came out. Too Close to Home. The album is out. It's doing amazing things. And the I Swear I'm Fine EP is also out. You'll also have a new single by the time this comes out. Do you know the title of that?
Yes, it's called Long Story Short.
Long story short, go listen to it. It's as simple as that. You got to go listen to it. But obviously, I appreciate you having on the show. You can find her on like Instagram, TikTok while it's around. YouTube, that's where the visuals are. But is there anything else you wanted to plug? Anything else you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, long story short, May 12th, we're gonna have a video out on that as well. That's gonna be really fun. Already shot that, so lots of cool things coming. Lots of cool things.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see what else you do. And yeah, hopefully you get down to Australia and do a tour at some point.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.